Anyone who watches my channel knows how much I love retro-inspired indie games. I just think it is so cool that there are so many people making games like the classics and delivering fresh new experiences for old people like me who can't wrap their minds around just how big modern games are. SEEP is a development team made up of two brothers who have been publishing games on Steam since 2015. They specialize in games that would have felt right at home on an 8 or 16-bit console, and they deliver games that are simple, fun, and tickle all the right nostalgia vibes. They have a pretty impressive catalog of retro games, and they have dabbled in 7 different genres. I have not played all their games, but I have enjoyed every one I played, and the ones I haven't are all sitting pretty high in my backlog. I want to feature a few games for them to give you a taste of what they have put out there. If you like what you see here, go check out their Steam page. Their games are always cheap, go on sale often, and are bundled for even more savings. Now, on to the games. 1989 After the War is a 2D platformer that takes place in a post-nuclear apocalyptic world. You play as a bounty hunter trying to kill the most deadly assassins in America, and your journey takes you through 7 levels of some intense action platforming. There is a radiation meter that acts as the game's time limit and slowly fills. When it reaches 200, you automatically die and are sent back to the last checkpoint. You can lower it by collecting little icons, buying items from the shop, or by reaching the checkpoint, which reduces it back down to 0. The time limit here needs to be respected. This isn't one of those timers that are just there and you kind of forget about it. If you don't move fast, it will run out, so you gotta keep moving. I normally don't like time limits in games, but it works here, and it just adds to the frantic pace of the game. Levels here keep you moving. There are enemy spawn points everywhere that come in the form of nests and doors. These cannot be destroyed, so enemies will spawn forever, forcing you to kill only what is necessary to proceed before moving on. Wait too long, and you could be dealing with a dozen enemies or more. It gets pretty crazy if you let it. Luckily, your character is equipped to deal with these threats in the form of the greatest shotgun to ever grace a video game. This thing is just awesome and would make the Doom guy jealous. With a press of the right trigger, your character lets out a blast that kills every enemy in front of him. It is wicked fun to use and necessary when things get out of control. It is powered by a meter which gradually recharges. It feels quick enough that as long as you play smart with it, it should be readily available when you need it. I love this game. I am always a sucker for a good retro-styled action platformer, and this game has enough interesting mechanics to set itself apart. The difficulty level is pretty high, checkpoints are far apart, and between the time limits, infinite enemies, and stage hazards, there's a lot going on. My first playthrough took me around 90 minutes, but the pacing of this game made it feel like 30. Contra is over 30 years old, and I am still amazed by how few good Contra clones there are. Sure, you have a handful, but more often than not, games trying to emulate Contra fall pretty flat. So I was really impressed by how this $7 game managed to nail a lot of what makes a good run and gun. The game running here is by developer SEEP, called Biomech Hell, and it just feels good. Your default gun is fast and satisfying to use. Enemy death animations change depending on where you shoot them. They're all way over the top and always satisfying to land. When you hit a headshot and you watch the head just pop off and explode, there's no shortage of enemies to shoot either. They are everywhere, which adds to the frantic feel of the game. Rather than collect weapons, your character is armed with all of their weapons from the start, each with limited amounts of ammo, but they replenish each level. Of course, the default machine gun has infinite ammo, so you're never defenseless. Action here is fast, controls are smooth, all the guns are fun to use, and there's an appropriate level of mayhem for a game like this. The way the game handles difficulty is really interesting. You get 3 lives, each life you get 3 hearts and 3 shields. There's also 1-ups and other power-ups sprinkled through levels. Effectively, this gives you a minimum of 18 hits per level before you run out, which is more than enough, so anybody can reach the end. However, there are multiple paths, and to reach the true ending, you need to attain a certain score, which means more skillful play and less deaths. If I have one complaint for this game, it is the duck animation is totally useless. I am someone who can no-death Contra, and a big part of success in that game is the ability to go prone to dodge bullets. Here, the duck animation does not put you low enough to go under any bullets, rendering it totally useless. That aside, I really enjoyed this game. It's not going to knock Blazing Chrome off the throne of best Contra clone, but it is really solid and does enough to set itself apart from its inspiration. I love a good shmup, but I'm not very good at them, and so much of the genre nowadays is focused on high-skill bullet hell style gameplay that I have been effectively skilled out of the genre. I'm just not good enough to enjoy those kinds of games. Sure, you could usually credit feed your way to victory, but where's the fun in that? I think that is why I enjoyed the game you see here, Airborne Justice, so much. The best way to describe this game would be a shmup for people who are not good at shmups. There is a lot going on here. Just watching the gameplay footage, you can see that there are enemies everywhere, all over the screen, flying at you non-stop. There are also little ground-based enemies shooting in various directions. But despite all the mayhem, it is not super difficult. I am mediocre at best with this genre, and while I definitely died a handful of times, I was able to beat the game pretty quickly. It is not a long game. There are 5 stages and some bonus modes unlocked when you complete it. The thing is, there is so much going on, you feel like it is a lot more difficult than it is. This makes completing the levels extremely satisfying, as you feel like you just took on an entire army and came out victorious. I just had a really good time shooting everything in my path, and finally feeling like I was able to accomplish something in a vertical shmup. This is not a game for the kind of player who could one credit clear any cave shooter, but for the novice like me, who just wants to enjoy themselves and play this style of game, Airborne Justice was perfect, and I honestly wish there were more games like this for scrubs like me to enjoy. Swords and Bones is a 4-part series. The game playing in the background here is the second one. I've only played the first 2 so far, but definitely plan on finishing this series soon. The game is an action platformer that has you on a quest to defeat an evil wizard. There are 5 worlds, each with 10 levels. Every level has a hidden chalice, and you must collect them all to get the true ending. Doing so unlocks one final word, where you are completely overpowered and kill everything in one hit. It was a nice way to cap off the game, and really satisfying to take vengeance on all the enemies that killed me so many times on my way there. The game gives off Castlevania or Ghosts and Goblins vibes, at least aesthetically it does. It's slow paced and methodical. If you just try to rush through, you will quickly get overwhelmed. You have to slowly take out the enemies and wait for the right moments to dodge traps and make it through some tricky platforming, all of which will lead to instant death if you are not careful. You collect coins, which can be used between levels to buy various upgrades and magic. None of these are necessary to get through the levels, but the quicker you get the double jump, the easier your life will be. Getting some ranged magic can't hurt either. There are definitely times you will need it to take out enemies that are trying to stop you from making a jump, or standing in the exact spot you need to avoid an instant death trap. Swords and Bones 2 is a simple game that harkens back to a simpler time in gaming. It is a tough game with responsive controls that will keep you on the edge of your seat throughout its 50+ levels. If you enjoy this, go back and play the first one. It is more of the same, and I really enjoyed that one as well. I'm definitely looking forward to dive into the rest that the series has to offer. Champion Road is a platformer beat-em-up with fast-paced gameplay and a simple but fun combat system. The combat here is kind of reminiscent of Kung Fu. You have groups of enemies that just run at you, your 3-hit combo is enough to take most of them down, and like Kung Fu, there are often ranged enemies throwing knives or shooting at you from behind the mob. However, level design is a little more elaborate, requiring some light platforming, dodging of obstacles, and arenas where you just fight till the enemies stop coming. You also get 2 unique special moves per character. I picked this guy, who is clearly inspired by Ryu, and his special move was a Hadouken, which is really cool. Every level ends in a boss. They seemed really difficult at first as they just run at you relentlessly, and I was really struggling. Until I realized I could just crouch kick them over and over and over again until they jumped, then I could walk under them and repeat until they were dead. That seemed to work on all of them. To add to the replayability, there are 6 total characters here. 3 selectable from the start, with 3 more unlockable as you collect coins. Each of them has their own storyline, special moves, and some unique stages to incentivize replayability. An individual playthrough is pretty short, so you're probably going to want to replay it a few times to see what all the characters could do. Champion Road has all the qualities you come to expect from a SEEP game. They are all simple, high-quality games that are fun to play and make you tingle with nostalgia as you do. I've only scratched the surface of the SEEP catalog. As of this video, they have over 20 games on Steam. Maybe not every game on this list is for you, but if you love retro games, you need to check this developer out, as the diversity of genres that they delve into is really impressive, and there is something for everyone in their catalog. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. There are so many amazing games out there that fly under the radar. I release a video every 2 weeks trying to highlight some of these games. If there's a genre of game you want me to cover, leave a comment down below, and be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any future videos and any more hidden gems.